Okay, here we go. Chevra, we are starting Perek Tezvav, the 15th Perek of Tanya. This is a very exciting Perek. This is one of these Perakim that you could really focus on and really spend your life really thinking about in terms of what is needed from me. In other words, what am I looking for in terms of my success in being down here? And what we're going to see here is what the Alter Rebbe is going to show us is that Yiddishkeit is not me versus someone else. It's not me, how do I compare to someone else? How do I look at someone else? How is that person doing? Where am I holding? It's me in relationship to myself. It's a competition of me with myself. And there are no, so to speak, winners or losers. It's a matter of, am I giving it my all? And at whatever level I'm at, with whatever challenges that I am experiencing, that is the measurement of my success. That's basically nothing to do with anyone else. It's really me challenging myself at every point to see, can I win out over myself? And that's really the measurement of an accomplishment and having a successful life or not a successful life. That's really what we're talking about. Okay? So let's start taking a look inside. Perek Tezvav Ubezeh Yuvan. And now we could understand Mashikasu v'shavtim v'ra'isim. The pasuk says that we see ben tzaddik l'rasha, the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha, ben oived elokim la'asher lo avdo, to a person who serves Hashem and a person who doesn't. Now, traditionally, a lot of the psukim, a lot of the sentences in here are very literary in this manner that, it'll have like two different verses, which are two different sides of the verse, which are basically saying the same thing. However, we know that there's always a deeper meaning to everything. And in that saying such, we look at this and we see, what's going on here. He says, okay, we could see the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha. Makes sense, right? Righteous person, not a righteous person. Ben oived elokim, someone who is serving God, and someone who is not serving God. Well, it seems to be saying the same thing twice, right? A tzaddik is obviously someone who is serving God, and someone who is not serving God is obviously a rasha. Very straightforward. So now the Alter Rebbe comes along and says, "Shahafresh ben oived elokim l'tzaddik." However, there is, in fact, what we're talking about here is a totally different level. And what we're going to say is, just like we saw with regards to, in Perek 10, the tzaddikim, that there are two main levels, although there are many, many levels really in between. And in Perek 11, we saw that there are two completely different levels of the rasha, right? What we're going to see here is that there's two major differences in levels between one type of Beinoni and another type of Beinoni. And obviously, when we talk about two levels, we're talking about two extremes, and obviously there are many, many levels in between these two different extremes. But what we're going to see now is that the Oived Elokim and the one who's not serving Hashem is not referring to a tzaddik and a rasha. What it's referring to is that there are two basic different ideas in terms of levels of the Beinoni himself. And what we're going to see is that even the Beinoni, who is essentially not doing anything wrong and doing everything right, we could still call him a person that doesn't serve Hashem, that doesn't serve God. How could that be? If he's doing everything right, what do you want from the guy? So what the Alter Rebbe is going to go on to explain now is that it's not only a matter of the results, it's a matter of the effort. That's what Yiddishkeit is focused on. The effort. In terms of if a person is holding on the same level as they were holding yesterday and the day before and last week and 3 months ago, then by definition he is not succeeding. By definition, a person needs to grow day in, day out. He always has to be advancing. It doesn't have to be a light years advance, but it has to be something. Constant growth. That's what we're looking for. Constant growth. And even in the person who is a Beinoni, who's doing everything right, if he's not advancing, it shows that there's something missing by him. That the effort is what we're focusing on. The effort is where it's at. Okay, that's what we're going to say. So let's see it inside. Sha'hefresh ben Oved Elokim L'Tzadik, the difference between an Oved Elokim, someone who serves God, and a tzaddik, who it is, Sha'oved hu Lashon Ha'iveh. That what is Oved? Oved means to serve, to do, to work. But Oved, when the Vav comes after the first letter, it implies present tense doing. An Oved Elokim means someone who is serving God right now. It means he's involved at this very moment in the act of serving God. It's a verb, present tense verb. Hu Lashon Ha'iveh. It's a language of present tense. Shehu be'emsa ha'avoda, that he's in the middle of the avoda. Shehi ha'milchama im ha'yetzer hara, that is the war that he's having with the Yetzer Hara. Lihizgaber alav, to win out over it. V'legarshu me'ira katana, and to divorce, so to speak, send that animal soul, the Yetzer Hara, away from his body, away from him. Shelo yislabesh be'evrei haguf, as we've been saying for the last 3 chapters, not allowing it to become enclosed inside the, so to speak, the limbs of the body to express itself. In other words, not allowing the Yetzer Hara, my evil inclination, to set the agenda in me and never to express itself. It may have its agenda, but I'm not allowing it to express itself. That's what we're talking about here. Shehu be'emes avoda va'amal gadol. This is truthfully a tremendous work and tremendous toil that he's working very hard. Like, this is the hardest work that we could all have, working on ourselves. Not to allow that animalistic sense within ourselves to take over, whether it's implying doing something that's inappropriate, thinking something that's inappropriate, speaking something that's inappropriate, thinking negatively about another person, thinking negatively even about myself, whatever it is. The animal soul has many different formats. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, has many different ways of trying to express itself. Our job is to constantly be on top of it, to constantly be looking. Where is it coming from now? That's called avoda. That's called serving. That's called working hard. Because if you just sit back, what's going to happen is that it just takes over the show. Right? I think I gave you the example a few weeks ago. It's similar to a person that's walking up a downward escalator. In order to keep on going up, you have to keep on walking. If you stop for a second, immediately you go down. The same thing here. There's no time to rest while we're in this world. There's no time to rest because the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, wants to get a hold of us. He starts bringing up all different ideas, whether it's to go after all different desires that we have that we shouldn't have, or whether it's to how we look at another person with anger or with jealousy, or with, oh, he did this to me, oh, she did that to me, oh, why did they do this, all this stuff, to get us all bogged down. And our job is the avoida of not allowing that to happen. That avoida requires tremendous effort. Lihilachem bo tami, to fight a war with it constantly. V'hainu Beinoni, that's the Beinoni. I remember a great story about a chassid who lived in Kfar Chabad, that everyone loved this person. So someone once asked him, why does everyone love you so much? A little bit of a funny question, right? But that's what they asked him. And he answered the most amazing answer. He said like this. He said, when a person is at peace with himself, with his inside, then he's at war with everyone outside of himself. when he's at war with his inside, then he could be at peace with everyone on the outside. That's the idea. What does it mean? It means that when I look at myself as I'm perfect and I'm wonderful and everything that I do, so then everyone that is in any way pushing into me, I'm going to push back. I'm not going to be able to take anything from anyone because I'm right. Someone who's constantly working with himself and trying to figure out how he could become a better person, how he could change himself, to elevate himself. So he has no time to find all the faults in everyone else. He's only going to see the good in everyone else. That's the difference. So that's what we're talking about here. Lehilachem botami, to constantly be fighting this war, to constantly be fighting this battle. V'hainu Beinoni, that's the Beinoni. Okay? Aval tzaddik. Now contrast that with a tzaddik. What's a tzaddik? A tzaddik nikra Eved Hashem. A tzaddik is called the Eved of Hashem, a servant of Hashem. B'shem hatoyar, with a name that is like an applied label to it. That's his position. That's his title, right? Kamo shem chacham or melech, like the name of a person, like you call this person, oh, this is a wise person, this is a king. You're giving him a title of what he is. Shekvar naseh chacham or melech. He's already become a wise person. He's already become a king. Kach ze kvar eved. So also here, with regards to the tzaddik, he's already an eved. He's already a servant. He's already accomplished. He's beyond that toil of serving, the oved, the present tense word of oved. He's now already accomplished it. He's done it. Yeah? Shkvar naseh chacham o melech, kach ze kvar eved, v'gamar. Legamre avoda hamilchama. He's already finished completely the avoda of the war. Im hara, with the evil that's in him. Ad ki v'yigashehu v'yelech lo v'libo chal b'kirbo, like it said in the first chapter, until the point that he's already divorced the Yetzer Hara. And it's already gone away until the point, like David HaMelech says about himself, his heart is empty, it's hollow within him. So that's not what we're talking about here. So what we're talking about here is clearly, when we say an Oved Elokim, it cannot be talking about a tzaddik. Even though the sentence said, we see the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha, between an Oved Elokim and Asher Lo Avdo, and an Oved, a person that serves Hashem, and someone who doesn't serve Hashem. Right? So the Oved Elokim is not the tzaddik. The tzaddik is already a tzaddik. The tzaddik is already an Eved. The tzaddik already has that title. It's not a work in progress. The Beinoni is a work in progress. He's constantly working. He can't let his guard down, even for one instant. And then he says, Beinoni yesh gam ken shtei madregos. However, even in the Beinoni, you could say about him, he has two different levels. An Oved Elokim va'asher lo avdo. Right? A certain person who is serving and a person who is not serving. So how could that be? Someone who's not serving. We just got through saying how a Beinoni constantly has to be putting in this effort and this toil and this work and everything like that. Now you turn around and say, oh, but in the level of a Beinoni, you could also have a person who's not putting in the effort, the work, and the toil. However, you can't say about this person who's not serving that he's not a rasha. He's a rasha. He's not a rasha. He's not a rasha. Why? Kilo avar miyamav shum avera kala. Because in his whole life, he never transgressed even one avera, even a small avera. V'gam kiyam kol mitzvah she'efshar l'kaim. And he's fulfilled all the mitzvahs that he's possible to fulfill. But Talmud Torah keneged kulam. And in Talmud Torah, learning Torah is equal to everything. So he's constantly doing. So why are we saying about him that he's not an Oved? He's clearly an Oved. And if he's not an Oved, why don't we say that he's a tzaddik? If he's not working, he's not toiling, he's not putting the effort in, then he must be a tzaddik. But yet, the Alter Rebbe is saying about this person, he's not a tzaddik. So we're left with a big question here. So what exactly is the definition of this person who is a Beinoni, who by definition requires work, but he's not working, and yet he's never sinned and he's never missed out on the opportunity to do a mitzvah and learn Torah. So Mitzvah Hashem, in tomorrow's class, we'll try to answer that question. Okay, thank you.